everyone, good morning. Welcome to Real Red Talk. This is your morning news show, and on today's show, we've got a lot of stuff to discuss, a lot of things to get through, including developments on the Wout Weghorst situation, lots of debate circling around the Eric Ten Hag wage cap suggestion. Gary Neville, not a fan of this apparently. We've got Atletico Madrid who have proposed a new situation with João Felix. Will United go for that in the January window, or will that be more of a summer move now? And there's some interesting quotes coming out from the boss about our history. So it's going to be a jam-packed show. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. Shreyas is joining me to comb through these topics. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing perfectly well, Nick. How are you doing?
I'm all right now. I've had my coffee. I'm not too bad. So I'm ready to jump straight into it. We're going to start with the proposed salary cap, Shreyas, because it's a very hot
Yeah.
topic on social media at the minute. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, so United's latest annual bill was estimated to have been 228 million, the highest in the Premier League. And apparently salaries at United will be capped to 200 grand a week, with David De Gea the first to be impacted. Richard Arnold and Eric Ten Hag want to avoid a culture of dressing room jealousy. Big move, big suggestion here from Eric Ten Hag. Lots of variables coming out of it. Is this the right move, Shreyas? What about future transfers? Will it affect, the likes of City are going in for Bellinghams and Mbappe's, these kind of guys? It's going to affect that long term, innit? But what about the positives, the pros and cons? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think if you look at it in a financial sort of way, considering the situation that our club has been for the past few years, we've seen that we have the highest wage bill in the Premier League. If you even compare it to Man City's or Chelsea's, we've got the highest wage bill, and if you compare it to the performances on the pitch and how we've been, been in and around top four. I think the visual we've got, we should have at least, been performing much better on the pitch. At least, be regular in the top four. But even that has been a big grind for us in the past few seasons. So I think definitely there should be a max cap on it, because it is also one of the biggest reasons why we can't offload most of our players, because we've got them on like 150 to 250,000 grand per week, and no other club would be willing to pay them those sort of wages, and that ultimately makes it harder for us to actually offload some players which shouldn't even be at the club in the first in the first glance. So yes, I think there should be a wage cap in that aspect. Of course, in if you have to look at it in a way where you would say that whether it would affect future transfers, definitely it would, because we've seen that clubs like Newcastle, clubs like Man City, even Chelsea, the wages that they can offer to certain players, definitely becomes it becomes an attractive place for any player to go, because considering you're just a 19 or a 20-year-old player and you might be getting 300,000 per week, obviously it's going to be a very good offer for that player. But I think if there would be a certain player who would be willing to come to our club within that wage, knowing everything about that wage cap, knowing what it would mean to play for a club like Manchester United, I think it wouldn't affect us that much, because how much is Christian Eriksen on? The players that we spent, money on this season, and the new players that have come into the club, I don't think any of them are, being paid above 200,000. Christian Eriksen isn't. Even Lisandro Martinez isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even say Anthony, I don't think even he's on a bill which is higher than 200,000 per week. So
I hope it's not 200 million a week.
yeah, of course. But yeah, I think in the longer run, it would actually help the club out, because we financially we are not in a very good position right now. So until and unless we are able to sort out the financial aspect of our own club, till the point we can say that United isn't a a debt-ridden club anymore. I think that's when we can explore the opportunities of having players on contracts like 450,000 per week, 350,000 per week. First, I think even if you have to offer those sort of contracts, they have to actually it has to be replicated on the pitch. And
Yeah.
until and unless we see that, I don't think that there's any point in delivering such big contracts to players who haven't really, showcased themselves in the Premier League, or we are just still on players we are still hoping that could become special for us.
Well, there has been a bit of a backlash to this. Gary Neville, obviously an well, not an ex-legend, he's a legend of the club, but an
Yeah.
ex-player for us now, pundit, has a heavy influence when it comes to Manchester United. I'm going to dive into that in a second, but I'm just going to go into the players that are currently on 200 grand a week and over. Or close to that. So Harry Maguire's on 190 grand a week. You've got Anthony Martial, 250k a week. Rashford's on 200k a week. Bruno Fernandes on 240k a week. Casemiro, 300 grand a week. Varane, 340 grand a week. Jadon Sancho, 350 grand a week. And David De Gea, 375k a week. Now, in the regards to what Ten Hag said about the salary cap, Gary Neville's tweeted, not sure why any radical new policy is being introduced if new owners are imminent. Capping wages is a radical policy. Rules out players like Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham and others in that bracket. Any new owners would probably want to enter the running for these types, and probably Mbappe as well. One fan obviously replied to this and said, we could say goodbye to any big talent out there, City, Madrid, PSG. We'll swoop in with a 50k, with an extra 50k, whatever, and steal these kind of deals. And then Neville replied, exactly, seems a strange policy when you have Casemiro and others on 350 to 400k for 4 more years in the dressing room. The backlash to this is strange. I know clubs like Liverpool and Spurs have a similar thing, obviously, until Mo Salah's contracts of late, which got renewed, which obviously got a big bump on his wage, which was deserved. Is that how you kind of manage the tangibles in this? Like, let's say we do cap it at 200, but if someone's significantly performing and, I don't know, maybe they get the golden boot or something along the lines of that, is that when you can have a bit of leeway with the wage structure, do you think?
I think maybe yes. I think if you have to, talk about Mo Salah, particularly, I think if a player is performing the way he did, that too consistently for I think the past 3 to 4 seasons, of course you can actually make a case for them that they're by far one of the best players in the Premier League. And then if you compare it to the clubs who have who are in the same competition, and then you can say that players like Phil Foden, players like Kevin De Bruyne, the wages that they are being offered, then probably you can say that Mo Salah obviously falls into that category and price range as well. But yeah, I think as far as it goes for any young talent being swooped in, I think up until now the players that Ten Hag particularly has looked into, they haven't they haven't necessarily joined us for the wages. There's been more connect with the manager and the player that's come in.
Yeah.
There's been more work ethic involved rather than just wages, and that has actually it has been pretty much visible on the pitch as well. And the coordination and communication that Ten Hag has been able to integrate into the squad as well actually comes into picture as well because of it. So I don't really mind if it means that a certain player will go to a Newcastle or a Man City or a Real Madrid because they are being offered 50 or 100,000 more than what United would offer. I think up until now, the only problem for Ten Hag has been that the owners haven't really, been that fast. They haven't really been that comfortable while actually going in for transfers. Even Cody Gakpo, even though he's now gone to Liverpool, I think wasn't really a big money move either because he went in for practically about 37 million. So I think for me it doesn't really matter much because I think Ten Hag, the kind of manager he is, he looks into the profile of these players and he knows what kind of players he necessarily wants. So I think it would work out. And plus, I think if he has brought in a certain concept like a wage cap, he would have processed it a lot. He would have thought about it, and yeah, I think in a way it is quite a positive break for all of us as well.
One element I do agree with this is the jealousy in the dressing room. I think that was a clear issue for us last season when Ollie and Ragnick was in charge, and it was something you could see because if players like, I don't know, let's say for example Paul Pogba, right? I don't want to just scapegoat Paul Pogba, but he was on a lot of money and he would only produce 2 out of 10 times, right? Casemiro's coming, he's performing every single week in, week out. So anyone who's coming in and they're saying, well, I want the same wage as what he's getting, why is Casemiro on 300k or 350k a week when I've got, I don't know, McTominay who's on about 100k a week? You have to earn it.
Yeah.
So there's no jealousy there. It's the fact that, well, he's the best in that position right now. He's performing every single week. So that's why he's on that wage. When you start performing like that, that's when you'll get, that's when it'll become thing again, because you can't. I don't think you can have a world where every single player earns 100k, like the same wage bracket, because it'd be weird. Why would someone like, let's say, for example, David De Gea, who we know is on an astronomical wage, but even still, he's been here for what, 10 years now, something like that. Obviously earned his stripes, had numerous players of the years, saved our bacon numerous times. So why should someone earn the same amount as him if they just transferred for the club? That bit doesn't make sense to me, that everyone should be in the same thing. I don't think you can have I don't know if it's a communist kind of approach to it, that everyone should. I think there has to be levels with certain things, because you have important players and you have players that are at the bottom of the pecking order. That's just how football works. What are your thoughts on that?
I think definitely it does come into play, because like you mentioned, players like Casemiro, who are pretty, I think he's pretty much one of the best central defensive midfielders in the world right now.
The best
By
right
far
now.
the best one of central defensive midfielders in the world. Even so, players like De Gea, who've been at the club for about 10 to 11 years now, and have been at the top of their game for quite some time now. And even if you have to, rewind it to last season when we actually signed Cristiano Ronaldo, I think with these players, you can't really play with that sort of aspect much, because the level that they bring to a club, the kind of consistency, and ultimately, the effect and the pressure that they bring onto the pitch for opposition teams as well. We've seen it. Like, we've seen how United used to perform when we have a midfield pivot of Eriksen and McTominay when the season started, and then we saw what Eriksen and Casemiro in a pivot can do, and Casemiro is just levels above. And if he's on like 300,000 per week, you can't really actually say that probably he needs to take a wage cut, probably he needs to be in the same bracket as the other players who are there on the pitch, so that there is an equitable distribution among the wages, because you can't do that with world class players. You can't. I think definitely with Casemiro, it's, I think, in bold text that you can say it, because he's completely transformed the club from the moment that he's walked in. And except that, I think definitely I really don't see wages being that much of an issue in our squad right now. I think we've got much bigger issues that need to be looked into, which are much more prevalent. I think if you have to look at it in the wages aspect, I haven't really seen it as much. What I used to see last season was player power, which used to be coming into contention a lot, and Ten Hag has been able to eliminate it completely. I would say he's been able to drop the players who previously weren't being dropped, no matter how bad they played on the pitch consistently. So yeah, I really don't think that's the sort of thing that we need to look into when a thing like a wage cap is being introduced.
And there's a couple of comments from people in the chat. So we got yourselves tuning in into the morning show. Zoe's Media House, good morning, early one today. Yeah, we're going to start doing some morning news shows on the weekend for you lot to wake up to. So some good news for you there. I welcome a wage cap. There should be a transfer fee cap as well. That one would be interesting. I'm not sure how that would go down. Sam saying, morning, lads. Good morning to you, Sam. Lewis Jackson. Phil Jones earning the same as Marcus Rashford. Mad. And this is what I mean.
Yeah.
I know Phil Jones has been a long-time servant at the club. He's been here for a similar time to David De Gea. I think them two were the only two that was in the club when Sir Alex Ferguson was in charge. That's still here. But the last time Phil Jones played was against Wolves, and that was in December, I think, last December. Something along the lines of that. He never plays. So how can we be offering contracts out like this? I think we actually give Phil Jones that contract when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer first stepped in and he was interim manager, and Ed Woodward sanctioned that deal. So not only is it down to doing this wage cap, it's down to the fact that when we're negotiating these deals, the people at the top have been offering ridiculous wages. And I know you're a massive fan of David De Gea, Shreyas, but 375k for a goalkeeper who is very good. He's at one of the best in the world, but me personally, I don't think he is the best right now. To be earning that kind of wage, I think is astronomical, is massive. And if you're going to bring any other goalkeepers in or defenders and they're looking at that, that is going to have a slight effect on that.
Yeah.
So we need to stop giving out these kind of deals to players because it is going to affect it. And I get why Ten Hag has this approach, but it will come with uncertainties and it will come with problems when we strive for big players in the market. And if you want to compete at the top, you want to go get your Kylian Mbappe's, these kind of guys, they're going to be like, what? So you're only offering me 200k? You're only just in the top 4. You're not even competing for titles or trophies at the minute. Why would I come there when I've got a club who's winning titles and they're offering me double what you're offering? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. I think, in a way, it definitely affects that. It definitely does, because when you look at it, into the series of the players that could be available to us in the market, which we know can, actually do a great job at United, can actually take us to the next level. It definitely cuts into it. And like you mentioned, David De Gea as well. I think he's one of the biggest earners when it comes to goalkeeper across Europe. I don't think there's any other keeper who earns 375 grand a week. I think in a way the club has been really hasty with deals. They have been offering players humongous contracts, which in the first place shouldn't have been offered. But I think just to get done with deals, just to move forward, they didn't really look into it in the financial aspect. Like you mentioned, Phil Jones being on the same wages as Marcus Rashford. Phil Jones hasn't played a game since last season against Wolves when Ragnick was manager, and still he's on the same wages as Marcus Rashford.
It's
So
crazy, isn't it?
exactly, and Rashford has been absolutely brilliant. He's completely on fire. He looks like a completely different player right now. He scored consecutively in 8 games for us now. So yeah, I think these players, there definitely needs to be a gap between certain players and certain players who you would expect to be playing for us week in and week out, and certain players who are just going to be there for rotational purposes, who would you would look into and say, yeah, these are the players who could make an impact, but only for 30 minutes on the pitch. They're not good for the full 90. So
Yeah.
I think that definitely there should be a difference there. And yeah, I think it's going to be interesting as to how it shapes up. If it actually gets implemented, then we probably might be seeing a lot of stories coming out of the dressing room.
What about the owners though? Like the new owners that are coming in, we don't actually know who are taking over. Maybe they know it internally. I have absolutely no idea about that. They might know that, so this is why they're introducing it. They may have spoken to him, but if they haven't, how would the new owners face that? Because when the new owners come in, they're going to want to make a big impact with a big signing, and they're not going to be able to do that if they've already introduced this wage cap prior to them coming in. So this is going to affect the new owners, whoever it may be, when they want to spend. And we're going to spend big in the summer, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think whether it's a Frankie De Jong, whether it's a João Felix, or someone completely different, I think one big signing would definitely there, one marquee signing for no matter which person ends up being the new owner for Manchester United, and it will be a bit tricky in order to interest players to come into the club when a wage cap has been introduced. But I think you never really know with a manager like Ten Hag. Like, we've seen Newcastle in the past 3 windows. They've been signing a lot of players. But you will never see them, like breaking the bank on a certain player. Like they've gone in and signed a player for about 80 million or 90 million or 100 million. They've signed a lot of players, but like for 35 million, 40 million, their only biggest signing up until now has been Isaac. And Isaac actually went for only 60 million as well. They ended up signing Bruno Guimaraes for only 35 million, which I think is one of the biggest bargain deals in the past few seasons. So I think you never know with Ten Hag. He might be looking to actually, get in like 3 to 4 players for 40 to 45 million euros each. And even in that way, if those 3 to 4 signings end up, being consistent and actually hit the ground running, it would prove to be a big bonus for the club, and for the new owners, it would be a really good start, because whoever inherits Manchester United, I think before even making signings, they would be looking at the wage situation and the financial situation, and it would be pretty difficult for them to actually make differences when it comes to wages.
Interesting at the minute. There's been lots of reaction to this on social media. It's absolutely popping off on Twitter anywhere you look regarding this salary cap. So make sure you get your opinion in the comments section. We've currently
Yeah.
got 17 people live in the chat. So get your comments in. Let us know what you think about this wage cap. I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. We've got Sancho in the chat. Imagine if that's like the actual James Sancho. Says, hi mate, opinions on Wout Weghorst, please. So we're going to get into the developments on that story now. Obviously, last night, Shreyas, I haven't had a chance to speak to you properly about this yet. The news broke that United had held exploratory talks with Burnley over a possible move for Wout Weghorst. Any new move would need Besiktas's approval to break the current agreement, as they have had a €10 million option to buy. Ten Hag is believed to be a fan of Weghorst, and his personality in particular is appealing to him. And Weghorst has already given the green light. That was from Fabrizio Romano. Now, the new update on this story, this is coming from Sport Witness, and they say Besiktas are expected to meet Wout Weghorst's agent today. An agreement between Burnley and Besiktas is approaching, with Burnley paying them to make the move happen. Weghorst has told Besiktas president that he wants the move. Apparently, the move is a lot closer than people think. That's a suggested line coming out from a lot of these journalists, credible journalists, and United accounts as well. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this player. We'll start off with the profile of the player.
Yeah.
Obviously, very different target to Yao Felix, 6'6" target man. How do you feel about what was your reaction to this news when you saw it coming out?
I think the moment I heard that we are linked to Weghorst, the first thing that came into my mind was the goal that he scored against Argentina in the World Cup. I think it was one of the biggest meme goals that I've ever seen. And except that, I think he will be a very cheaper alternative. If you look at it from the Glazers' point of view, I think for them it's a steal of a deal, because they end up getting a striker by not even paying 15 million or something. So for them it's a very cheap alternative, and that's why it looks more realistic, and that's why it's gaining a lot of heat, because it is a very realistic deal for Manchester United to pull off right now. And I think the thing is, he definitely fits into the profile of a target man. Like, he's a very good target man. He's played at Wolfsburg as well. And except that he's played, we've seen him play last season for Burnley. I think for me it was very surprising that he chose to move to Burnley after playing at a club like Wolfsburg, where he ended up, getting double digits every single season for Wolfsburg. And it was a very surprising deal for me that he ended up going to Burnley. And I think if this deal actually goes through, he could work, because we've got, like, you mentioned it in the video as well, that we've got electric wingers in Rashford, Anthony, who look to cut inside and go in for a shot. They're very rapid, and like to move about a lot. And Weghorst is a kind of a target man who would like to attract defenders towards himself, so it would create spaces for the wingers for us in the flank areas. So it could end up working. He's a very tall center forward, good heading ability on him as well. So I think it's a good deal. I think it does come down to the fact whether Ten Hag wants him or not. If Ten Hag actually wants a player like Wout Weghorst, I think you could definitely make a case for him and say that we can actually go in for a player like him. Would cost us about only 10 to 11 million. So even if it doesn't work out, it wouldn't be a massive loss for the club. But the only thing that is actually that I would look out would be for that we need someone right now to hit the ground running. Like, we don't need someone who would come in, who would need time to adapt, because right now we are in a very delicate position in the Premier League. We've got loads of games coming up, so whoever we end up signing, that person needs to come in. He needs to hit the ground running. And actually, give competition to Martial for that starting striker position, because right now I think we are joint third in the Premier League, and we've got big games coming up as well. If Martial actually ends up getting injured, we are once again in the same loop where Rashford
Yeah.
goes up top, and then we've got someone like an Elanga or a Garnacho playing for us, who was as good as Garnacho is. I think he's got a really, really bright future for United. He still needs time. He's very young. I wouldn't want him to, be once again thrown in and playing consecutive games for us, like we've seen happen to other younger players at the club as well. So I think we definitely need a signing, and if it is Weghorst, I would want it to be a Ten Hag signing. I wouldn't want it to be someone like we've been signing over the years as an emergency signing, just to
Yeah.
have someone in there who could do a job, who could play in that particular position, but wouldn't end up doing much for us.
Well, that's the key point there. The fact that Ten Hag wants him, that was the thing that sways me, because Chivy put a great comment on the show last night, and he said, "Look at the summer signings that we had. And there was a lot of doubts about Lissandro, his height. Will he adapt to the Premier League?
Yeah,
Antony, will he fit? Ericsson, a free move. Is it the right choice for Casemiro's too old, too pricey? All these kind of things, and every single one of them really have hit the ground running. Bar Malacia. Malacia's had struggles in set games, but you can see that the
yeah, he's
potential is
improving.
there, and he was a cheap cost
Yeah,
anyway. No, it's not as if, it was a massive risk bringing him in, and he's a backup left back. So you can kind of have that. You can have the development with that.
exactly.
And I remember when Ten Hag was at Ajax, a lot of the fans had similar concerns when he was linked with Haller from West
Yeah,
Ham, because Haller flopped in the Premier League, didn't really do well. So, and he brought him over, and everyone was like, why are you bringing over, a guy who's not necessarily done well at West Ham? Is this the point that we should trust in his coaching and his eye for talent? That is a prime example
yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah. And once again, we've got 27 people in the live chat right now. So if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure to smash that subscribe button. We are on 908 subscribers. We are
Yes,
looking forward
yeah.
to actually hitting that 1000 subscriber mark. Thanks to all the love that you've been showing us for the past few months. And if you haven't subscribed already, make sure to smash that subscribe button.
Also, sorry,
Yeah,
very quickly, we're going to dive into, after we've spoken a little bit more about this, we're going to dive into some really interesting stats on Wout Weghorst and give you guys a more rounded perspective of the player himself, what he's all about, what he's done in Europe, his record, etc. So yeah, like Shreya says, smash a like on that video and subscribe to the channel, please. We're getting closer and closer to 1,000 subs, and that's
yeah,
because of you lot. So thank you very much for that.
yeah, definitely. And yeah, I think it's going to be really critical in this window. I think, to be very honest with you, the player I wanted to come to Manchester United in this window, someone actually realistic who would fit into the price range, was Marcus Thuram from Mönchengladbach. I think he
Oh,
would have
that's,
been,
yeah,
yeah, I think he would have been a really, really good signing. He's got that target man profile in him. He's very rapid on the ball. He's got good hold up play, and actually he was actually available for about 12 to 15 million as well. And
yeah.
the kind of player that he is and he would develop to be, for 12 to 15 million, I think it's a no-brainer for me. He's had a good World Cup as well, and he's shown in the past few years that he can actually do the job for us. So personally, I wanted him, but like you said, the situations that is coming out with Weghorst, with Ten Hag, yeah, I think with Ten Hag, he's been really, really, great when it comes to catching talent. His eye for talent is really, really amazing. Every single one of his signings has definitely been, hitting the ground running. If you have to speak about Ericsson, I think sometimes people are not able to understand his ability and the level that he brings to the game, because he might not be performing that well in certain games, but the moment Fred comes in, you can see the level, you can see the change in level between Fred and Ericsson. I think Ericsson is able to bring much more composure on the ball, and he's able to relieve a lot of pressure from the back four as well. And we need someone, that Casemiro steals the ball off a player, and then we've got someone who is really, really good when it comes to the ball playing ability, and that is Christian Eriksen. So Ericsson has been a good signing. Lisandro Martinez has been by far one of the, I would say, best signings for us up until now. I think your video has paused for a moment.
Seems all right on my end.
Yeah, it's okay now.
We okay?
Yeah. Like I said, I was saying, Lisandro Martinez is by far, I would say, one of the best centre backs in the Premier League this season. The way that he's been performing, Anthony, I think the past few weeks have been really, really rough on him. He hasn't looked that great, but I think with time he will actually be a really, really good player. I think he still needs time. I think he's still a bit rough. We've definitely seen glimpses of him when against Tottenham and against sides like Everton, but I think once again consistency is one of the things that he needs to work under, and just the basics. Except that I think definitely Ten Hag is on the right track when it comes to signings, and if Wout Weghorst is one of the players that he looks to be targeting for Manchester United as a centre forward, I wouldn't really mind it.
Well, he was. Ten Hag's actually been talking about Martial and why he's been being subbed off in his last few games. He said there's a reason because he can't match in this moment the load for many games. That's why we're looking for another striker. It's not that we can't rely on him. It's basically his fitness, and he doesn't want to get injured again because we will be without a striker. He's the only striker
Exactly.
at the club. I know Marcus Rashford can play there, but he's not an out-and-out number 9. We know this with him. One criticism I've had though for the past couple of games that Martial can go really quiet in a lot of the games, and he can't impact a game physically or be a nuisance in the box. So a lot of things for the defenders, they're kind of dealing with it in front of him because he likes to drop off, bring to feet, link up with Rashford. But apart from that, he's not got much more to his game. I know he can dribble past defenders, but we haven't even seen that a lot from him recently. We've just seen him drop deep, pick it up, link up. That's it. Whereas with Wout Weghorst, he's going to be causing problems in the box, giving opposition an extra thing to worry about. And this is something you can see from his stats. So I was looking into this because people hear the name, they look at the guy, they see the tower of the man 6'6", and they think, nah, shit, don't care, he's poor at football, all this kind of stuff. And I get it. I understand it. I know what you're saying. In the Eredivisie, he scored 51 goals and assisted 17 times in 120 matches. For Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, he scored 59 and assisted 20 in 118 games. He has 5 in 19 for Netherlands, but most of them have been subs, and 2 of them was in the Argentina game, which we remember from that wonderful set piece that he did. He's won 3.45 aerial duels per night whilst at Burnley, placing him 86th percentile globally. All these things that you look at his assist as well, his work rate off the ball is incredibly hardworking, defensive flair, which is something Ten Hag will love as well. And financially, the move would make sense. His current wages are 32 grand a week, which is more than affordable in United's wage structure. So all these variables, you can see why they're going for that. I know it's not João Felix. João Felix, I believe, as well as you do as well, Shreyas, he would work. I think he'd fit across the front line. He could play anywhere, and he would be useful in that sense. His versatility would come into play with that. Would this be heartbreaking for you to not sign João Felix? Because it's an opportunity now, and this opportunity might not be there in the summer.
Yeah, I think if eventually, I think if we sign Weghorst this window, if João Felix is available in the summer and we go in for him, I don't really mind that. But if a situation like this happens where we end up signing Weghorst and by the end of the window Felix moves to an Arsenal or Chelsea, for me then it definitely would be a heartbreaking moment, because I think João Felix, what he offers to us would be his mobility on and off the ball. He can play as a center attacking mid. He can play off either of the wings. And even if you want to, play him as a center forward striker, I think he can actually do a good job because he's got the pace. He's got that ability to link up play. And he's also, he's a really, really clinical finisher. For Portugal in the World Cup as well, he's been a really good finisher. And I think under a very, very, compact Atletico Madrid side, the way that he's able to, generate goals, it's actually really, really interesting and, really, really good to see, because it's very difficult to actually, create goals out of, make goals out of creativity in a side like, Atletico Madrid, who likes to actually play a lot of defensive work, looks to hit teams on the counter and out of position. So, in that sort of aspect, I think João Felix in an attacking side, where someone like Ten Hag is present, who wants the striker to actually, be very first foot, wants them to press, wants them to actually, link up play. I think if you look at it in a way where you've got Rashford on the left wing, you've got João Felix playing playing as the number 9, and then you've got Anthony on the right wing. The pace, the link up play, and I would say even the finishing that João Felix would be able to provide, I think it would be a very, very balanced front three. if we actually end up getting Yao Felix in the summer. But once again, if we actually don't go in for him, I think if we don't go in for him in the summer as well, he'll definitely move to a Premier League club. It is certain that he'll be moving on from Atletico
I think
Madrid,
so.
whether it's in the summer
Yeah.
or whether it's in this window itself. He'll definitely be moving on, and we've seen that the player is interested to a move to the Premier League club. So if United don't go for him, someone else definitely would, and I think he would actually do well, whether it's in an Arsenal, whether it's in a Chelsea, because he's actually a really talented player. He's just not playing in the correct system.
No, the
And
Simeone system's
yeah,
like the opposite for him, innit?
exactly,
Pretty much.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you imagine, just imagine him in that Arsenal system where if Jesus isn't there and then you've got Yao Felix playing with Martinelli and Saka off the wings, he'll actually score a lot of goals without a shadow of a doubt. So
I actually think he'd be a better fit for Arsenal, if I'm
yeah,
being
yeah,
completely honest.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
really do.
definitely.
And I think that's someone Arsenal might go for. Just a very quick one. I want to just read out a few comments before we think it. Hempstar TV saying love, he's from Jamaica, so shout out to Hempstar TV. Zoe's Media House on Weghorst, welcome to Manchester. I trust in Ten Hag, so full trust there in the coach. Could Sancho transform into a striker? Just wonder with Benny McCarthy at the club. I think Sancho could, if he was to go into any new positions, I think it'd be number 10
Yeah,
for Sancho.
yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
he has the striker kind of assets in finishing, that smell for blood.
I think he's
when you're in the
got
box.
much better vision. I think when it comes to as a
Exactly.
player, he's got much better vision for passing rather than for finishing.
Yeah. Weghorst, welcome. Help us now. That's from Sociophilia Aberniobe. That's a hard name to pronounce. I apologize. Duo Tones Ltd. Weghorst, definitely. He's saying definitely is going in for him. And the loan fee for Yao Felix, have you seen it? It's about 17 million. But they have changed that to, I think it's a smaller loan fee, but an obligation to buy for 70 million. So that is an opportunity that United could look at. And also a quick one, 60% of the viewers currently right now are new viewers. So please click that subscribe button and join this amazing community. The shows, the content, the people, everything's getting better and better. It's going up. And follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter as well for regular updates, clips from this show. And news updates on Insta as well, and the odd occasional Instagram live. We're becoming a massive community. Make sure you join it. And we've got one more topic to get into, Shreyas. Erik ten Hag has been talking again about the history of the club. He was doing an interview, I think it was with BD Sports, I believe. And a couple of quotes that are coming out from this, very, very interesting. It says, most purchases at Manchester United have been average. Average is not good enough. United's shirt weighs heavily. Only real personalities who can perform under great pressure can play here. The club has bought an unimaginable number of players in recent years who have not been good enough. He's absolutely spot on about the recruitment here, isn't he?
I think definitely. And I think the biggest comment that people actually need to look into is that certain players, they might be talented, but they are not able to, weigh up to the level of Manchester United and the weight that the shirt brings along with it. Because whenever a new player gets unveiled for Manchester United, the media see him as, the perfect player to attack. We've seen, you can see it right now with Anthony. You can see it with any other player who's been signed for big bucks. Before Lisandro Martinez actually, I think it was before match number 6, you could see every single person going in after Lisandro Martinez. He's not tall enough for the Premier League. He's not good enough. He'll get dominated. He won't be able to do it in the Premier League because of his height.
I love hearing that now, I love hearing it because it's wrong.
Exactly.
Wrong.
And you could see that with almost every single person on there. But every single person has seen now that Lisandro Martinez is by far one of the best centre backs in the league. By far one of the most consistent centre backs in the league. The way he's able to, attack the strikers of opposition teams. You've seen it with players like Mo Salah. You've seen it much clearer with players like Gabriel Jesus. In the first minute, Lisandro Martinez goes in for the tackle. Jesus is shut down for the complete half. So he's very dominant. And I think for any player coming in, he needs to be thick-skinned. He needs to be open to criticism. He needs to, be ready to actually hear him being slandered in the public, especially by the media.
Well, with Weghorst, there's a comment there from Manchester United Nigeria. It says, I prefer Weghorst for Felix. We really need a strong, dominant striker up front, and Weghorst is really good in the air. Bruno will get plenty of assists. I agree with that, but there was
Yeah,
a comment about his personality as well, where he's got the right personality to deal with it. Actually, he was that confident as a player. People at Burnley weren't happy with him because he was saying he was arrogant or whatever, blah blah blah. But I think you need that little bit of arrogance to deal
yeah.
with that. Sorry, that comment came up. It just reminded me of it then. It's clear Ten Hag, this is from Mike Stacey, so big up Mike Stacey. It's clear Ten Hag doesn't buy players for their individual worth, but more as a puzzle piece to fit the team.
Yeah,
That's a very good comment. Very
yeah,
sensible
yeah,
comment, I would say. And this goes back to the scouting network again, Trez. This is something we've heavily criticised on this channel for a while now. Even when you look at the striker situation, the players that we've gone in for in the past, they just haven't worked, have they? You look at
yeah,
Ronaldo, Cavani. I know Ronaldo was great for a year, but look how that turned out. Ended up in a Piers Morgan interview, which is just no one would have
yeah.
ever thought. So Ronaldo, Cavani, Radamel Falcao, Igalo,
Ah,
Lukaku. Ibrahimovic was the older
yeah.
age profile. He did well for us. He won trophies, but injury prone. And then, do you know what I mean? Where's the longevity after that?
We
Like,
haven't
it
really
just
had an
hasn't.
out and out striker for more than 2 seasons. We've never
There's
had
no
that.
longevity in it
Yeah,
at all,
yeah,
is there? We
yeah.
don't go sign a Nunes or a Haaland or kind of guys where. And I know Nunes can't hit a barn door at the minute. He's a bit of a he might be a Timo Werner or he might end up becoming a very good striker. I get that. I understand it. But the age profile and the talent, the raw talent is there. Under Ten Hag, I believe, I think these players can be really coached.
Yeah.
And if you get a young, hungry, bit of a hybrid profile of a striker who's 21, 22 years old, you still can get a return on him when you sell him. So if you buy him for, I don't know,
Exactly.
70 million, it's going to be 78 million these days, right? That's the
Yeah,
price that we're
definitely.
talking. But then when you sell him, if you want to sell him in 5 years' time, he's not going to be 40.
Exactly.
So you're going to get the return on that.
Once again, we've 31 people in the chat. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure to smash that subscribe button. We are on 912 subscribers right now. So please make sure to like the stream and please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Yeah, I think definitely, like you mentioned, we haven't really been able to, even if we have made bad signings, we haven't really been able to get any sort of money in return for them, because by the time we actually look into offloading them, they're in their mid 30s or they're nearing 40. So we can't really, even make a gain out of selling them. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why during the start of the season, we were linked with Benjamin Sesko. I think he actually, interested me a lot, because one of the key things about Sesko was that he was really young. Even if he didn't work out, we could have sold him for a good price, and it would have been the first time that we actually would have gone in for a very, very smart signing if we actually made that happen. And similar to when Ragnick was in there in the winter window, he wanted to go in for Nkunku, and Nkunku at that time would have cost us about 35 to 40 million. So if he would have gone in, once again, we would have had a very, very young striker, someone who could have played across all the front four positions. And even if he didn't work out, we could have sold him at a very good price. So I think the biggest issue for us up until now has been, even when we've been linked to decent players, our club never reacts to that. A club has never reacted to it. We've seen it. Just look at it in this season and last season's perspectives, and I'll just list you the players: Darwin Núñez, Benjamin Sesko, Christopher Nkunku, Julian Alvarez. 4 strikers who are right now actually playing really, really great at their respective clubs, and most of them are actually have come on and made their future in the Premier League. Nkunku is on Chelsea. Darwin Núñez is right now at Liverpool. Benjamin Sesko might be going to Leipzig, might actually end up coming to the Premier League as well. You never really know with that. Julian Alvarez, I think, was a steal of a signing for a 15 million for Manchester City. So
we done a video, on Julian Alvarez in fucking December. In December, we did a video on Julian Alvarez, how he was killing it at River Plate in South America. He's one of the top talents. He's available for 15 to 17 million. But United, as we know, they're not proactive in the market. We're reactive. We get it when we need, or we'll be like, oh, well, we'll just get him. We get stopgaps. That is how we fucking work. A few more great comments here. So Mike Stacey, I think, is a Chelsea fan. Yeah, he or she's I saw the name Stacey, I thought he or she, but Mike Stacey. Apologies. personally, I feel Ten Hag's the best manager in the league, just based on what he's done so far. You're lucky, guys. That's what he's saying. Rahul Agarawal says, totally agree. Zoe's Media House, Tino Werner should be thinking of reviving his career. He must be watching on how Ten Hag's worked with Rashford. That's a great point. Ten Hag is a good coach. Let him give time to build the club. That's from billionaire Godfin. Some great comments there in the chat. And as always, please subscribe to the channel. Join the ever-growing great community and smash a like on the video as well. Yep. On Ten Hag, can we just discuss Ten Hag for a second?
Yeah.
Because he deserves a lot of fucking praise. Yeah. Every single decision he has got bang on. Absolutely bang on. You think about, let's take it back to pre-season.
Yeah.
With Alejandro Garnacho, with the reports that was coming out about his attitude and how he wasn't kind of blending in and stuff. He put that to bed straight away. Yeah. Dealt with it.
Yeah.
Drip fed him into the squad. Marcus Rashford turns up late for a meeting, drops him from Wolves, brings him on, scores. Ronaldo, seeing his ass, basically lights a firework at United. There's massive controversy surrounding it. Deals with it impeccably, like perfectly as any manager could. Any other decisions I'm missing? Like every decision he's got bang on, hasn't he?
Yeah, and tactically as well. If you look at it in the tactical sort of sense, I think a lot of people, I think it was during the derby, the Manchester derby, when people came out and said that Ten Hag was naive, going foot to foot with Manchester City. You can never attack them with the squad that we have. But I think overall, as much as that result hurt, I was actually really glad as to how we played, because I think it was the first time in 5 to 6 years that I actually saw Manchester United and Manchester City, and I saw our team actually trying to attack Manchester City. It was the first time in 5 to 6 seasons. And for me, that was a big thing, because I've never seen a manager, that confident and actually, willing to go toe to toe with Manchester City. And we've seen, the squad that Manchester City have at the moment. And except that, Arsenal up until now have only lost one game this season, and that has been to Manchester United. If you look, even I think up until now, the best game for me, for Erik ten Hag, has to be the Tottenham one. Manchester United versus Tottenham. I think it was that game where you could say that we completely, played Tottenham out of the park. We completely played them off the park. Harry Kane and Heung-min Son were completely shut down. Fred and Casemiro had a monstrous game. All of our attackers, even Anthony, he had, I think it was Emerson Royale practically on strings. Rashford looked like really good in that game. And that was a top 6 club. And Spurs are even Spurs are in the top 5. So I think it has been the first time that we've taken a decent amount of points from the top 6 games. The games that we used to lose, we have actually, been able to convert them into wins and actually draws as well. And I think for any manager, the way we started our season, the way he's been able to revolve that around, and the momentum and the run that we're on at the moment, it takes a lot of work. And yeah, one of the biggest things we forgot was after the Brentford game, when he practically ran with the entire squad the amount of distance that Brentford got over us. I think
it was like 17 kilometers.
Yeah. And he ran it with the entire squad. Yeah. So
that was a big move as well on just before a game. Yeah. Like I think it was before the Liverpool game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which is obviously a massive game for us. There's a few comments I want to dive into. Sorry to cut you short there, Reyes. Some great comments from people who aren't even United fans as well. So that's how you know Ten Hag's doing a good job, because you're getting praise from opposition fans. So let's have a look. I've got to scroll up a little bit. Billionaire Godfin, I don't know if I mentioned this before. Ten Hag is a good coach. Give him time to build the club. Ian McKenna, Ten Hag does an excellent impression of Steve McLaren's Dutch accent. I remember that interview. Terrible accent from McLaren. I don't know what he was doing there. He's no nonsense. Ten Hag is the reason we are in the position we're in, correct? We've lacked a character like Ten Hag for years. Adam saying, I just want to pet him on his bald head and say thank you. A comedy aspect of it there. As a Newcastle fan, you need stability. Stick with Ten Hag. He knows his stuff. Getting rid of Ronaldo was a big decision, and he made it. Very important. Ten Hag, manager of the season so far. This is from Zoe's Media House. From where we were now, yes, we haven't won anything yet, but it's a process we're building. And Sam with an absolute 10 out of 10 comment saying he can, I don't know if I can say this on YouTube in the morning show, but there might be kids watching. Basically, he can have relations with his girlfriend. That's how much he likes Ten Hag, and Sam would allow this. So if you're watching, Sam's girlfriend, unlucky, apparently. Billionaire Godwin, United will turn to the beast of a club in EPL under Eric Ten Hag. I mean, Ten Hag, if he was watching this now, he'd have a tent in his pants. So much praise for Eric Ten Hag right now. Well, obviously, Eddie Howe is manager of the season so far. This is from a Newcastle fan, of course. Yeah. From relegation certainties to third, but Ten Hag is doing a good job, and I like him. We've got City coming up. This is from Media House again. We can't afford to take a draw. So lots and lots of praise for Eric Ten Hag. Look, I think that fear factor is coming back again. I think we are getting it back. At Old Trafford now, I don't know how many it is. When was the last time we lost? Was it Villa in the league before the World Cup?
Yeah.
Because we beat Fulham.
I think even Villa was away.
Was that away?
Yeah, Villa was away. Ronaldo was captain wearing the white jersey, if you might remember it, when he got into a fight with Mings.
Oh, shit, yeah. But that was the last time we lost. We obviously beat Fulham. And when we came back from the World Cup, we had Burnley in the Carabao Cup. We beat Burnley. Then after Burnley, was it Nottingham? Yeah, Nottingham Forest on the 27th. Then we played Wolves on New Year's Eve.
We played Bournemouth in between as well.
Bournemouth as well. Beat them. Beat Wolves. In our last game, just beat Everton. So he's doing well, man. He's doing ridiculously well. Since he's come in, he's had so many things to deal with as well. It's been absolutely mental. Can we have our Luke Shaw back, please? I don't know what that's in reference to. Don't forget Shaw and Maguire's situation. He sorted that out too. Yeah. Luke Shaw and Harry Maguire. Look what happened when they came back from the Euros with under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. They were clowns. They were like Bill and Ben, like the Chuckle brothers at the back. They were performing terribly. And I know. What do you think will happen with Maguire now?
I think he'll go. I think he'll go in the next window. Because
you saw what Rio said, right? About him?
And I think the biggest question right now for Maguire is, no matter how much security Gareth Southgate is able to provide him with, that no matter how no matter how less you're playing, you'll still end up making my squad. I think for Maguire, the biggest question is that he actually needs to be at a club right now where he can be guaranteed first team football. And I think he's 29 or 30 right now. So these are pretty much the best years of his career that he'll actually have. And I don't think that he's the sort of player who would like to, be a bench warmer. So I think Maguire could be one of the players who could be on the way out during the summer window. And I think even in that aspect, Ten Hag has been really, really great as to how he's treated and how he's gone about the captaincy and the situation with Harry Maguire. Because
don't know what happened there. My laptop got excited then, jumps out of its metal skin.
I think a lot of people actually thought that after the World Cup we might be seeing Harry Maguire getting regular minutes for Manchester United because he had a decent World Cup run. But I think what we've seen under Ten Hag is he has his strongest 11 in his mind whenever he's going in for a game. And we've seen that in the midfield as well. Whenever he's seen that Christian Eriksen is even halfway fit, he has never played Fred over him. We've seen that in big games as well. Christian Eriksen has started over Fred. Similarly, we've seen Varane and Martinez. They have always started over Maguire, and for good reasons as well. So, I think with Harry Maguire, if he doesn't end up getting regular minutes in Manchester United, which I don't think that he will, because I think Martinez is in the form of his life, and I think the stability that Rafael Varane and the leadership that he's able to bring to that backline, I don't think Maguire is going to be able to bring that. So for me, Maguire goes in the summer transfer window, and you never know with the new ownership coming in, you never know. Maguire might not actually be the only one who could be on their way out. We've seen that happen with a lot of clubs, that whenever a new owner comes in, we've seen a lot of players getting offloaded, that they're not good enough. They want to make changes at the club. And for any new owner, the first transfer window that comes about, that is one of the major windows for them. We've seen that under Chelsea as well, the way that they've been throwing money around with Enzo Fernandez. They've got Benoit Badiashile from Monaco as well, I think. Christopher Nkunku. I think they're in talks with Guardiola as well from RB Leipzig. So
Yeah, Todd Bowley's just like fucking
exactly.
spreading the
I
cash
think the
everywhere,
only
innit? At the
the
minute.
only decision I think that I don't really agreed with him was sacking Thomas Tuchel, because I don't think Potter has actually done a great job filling his shoes. So yeah, I think with any new owner up until now, we've seen that they like to splash the cash and they like to make big changes in the club during the first transfer windows. So we could be seeing that happen at Manchester United, and Harry Maguire I think would pretty much be the first person to be looked at, because right now he's still the club captain for us. Whenever he's come in,
Yeah,
uh, I think up until now he's had average games. He's not had bad games. He's not had particularly great games, but he's had average games. Hasn't done particularly anything wrong, but we see the difference in levels when Lisandro Martinez or Rafael Varane comes in for
yeah,
him. So I think Maguire is going to be one of them. According to you, who could be the three players on their way out? Big players
yeah.
on their way out in the next window.
Well, it's like Liza Rami says there, Shaw from being out of the team, now playing as a centre
Yeah,
back. He's put Luke Shaw as a centre back and he's performing really well.
very well.
And I touched on this on a show that we did. I said versatility, what excuse me, what Ten Hag is doing. We've seen Casemiro play midfield. We've seen him play at centre back. Luke Shaw plays left back, plays centre back. Malacia play on both sides.
Yeah,
Rashford and Bruno have played all across the front line this season, and they've done it well because they're being coached
exactly.
correctly. And loads of these variables help with squad morale, because when a player gets injured or if a player wants more game time, if they can do two jobs, it's like at any workplace, right? If you're I don't know, say you're in a place that's like a trampoline arena, they've got a cafe, they've got a football section.
Yeah,
If you're trained in a cafe and you're trained in the trampoline section and you're trained in the football bit, you're going to get more work and you earn more money because more areas are available. And you can kind of relate that to football, because when you're in a team, if you can play centre back, left back, and you can play in midfield, for example, you're obviously going to play more, right? You're going to get more game time, which equals you being more happy. And that is down to Ten Hag's coaching. And
yeah,
Ten Hag, as a coach in general, I think he's got the discipline of Conte, the man management of Ole, and like the tactical nous of Cruyff. He's like this weird. He's just got everything, right?
yeah.
Absolutely everything. And you know what? We have absolutely. I feel like we've hit the jackpot with him as a manager. I really do, because what he's doing with his squad right now, we're fighting for the top four. We're level on points with Newcastle, who've had a fucking fantastic season. And we've got a game in hand on them as well. I know we've got tough games coming up, but how do you feel about them games?
I'm actually very
Arsenal City?
excited, and for the first time, I would say in the past 5 to 6 years, going into these sort of games like against top of the table Arsenal, against Manchester City, this is the first time that I can actually say that we might be able to cause some damage. Like City, no disrespect to City, they've been absolutely unreal this season as well. But we've seen them slip up. We've seen them slip up against Newcastle. We've seen them slip up against Wolves, a side that we actually ended up beating not so long ago. And City have dropped a fair few number of points. And once again, City are under a lot of pressure because Arsenal are on a wonderful run right now. They're winning a lot of games. So they are desperate for those 3 points. And the way we are actually playing right now as well, we are unbeaten as well since the World Cup has ended. So
Yeah.
United versus City is gonna be is actually gonna be a big game, because we in that game we are still the underdogs to win, and we seen that when we actually came up against Liverpool as well. Before that game happened, all of us, even me and you, were saying let it be just anything but a 3-0 or a 4-0 smashing, and we ended up beating Liverpool 2-1, and we played really really good. So I think against City, you never know, we might be able to surprise them. And in that last game, we didn't have Casemiro starting in that game.
Yeah.
So, this time we're going to be having Casemiro, Eriksen, Martinez, and Varane probably in full fitness. Luke Shaw in actually really, really good form. We've got Diego Dallo back as well. I think that's going to be a big boost for us, because even though Aaron Wan-Bissaka has done a really, really good job when Delo hasn't been there, the moment Delo came on, we could see the difference. The
Yeah.
attacking play and the dominance that he brings on that right hand flank, I don't think Wan-Bissaka is able to bring that. So I think Delo is once again a big boost. Rashford looks completely on fire. I think he's going to cause a lot of problems off that left hand side. Um I hope Martial is able to, up his game a bit, similar to Anthony as well. I think Anthony needs to up his game a lot. I think I'm not that worried because once again, he's a player who had been playing in the Eredivisie. I think it takes time for forwards, particularly, to get accustomed to the Premier League. We've seen that happen with many players as well.
I don't think the price tag helps with that, does it? The fact
Yeah,
we overpaid.
definitely. I think the price tag makes him.
He's a 50 million pound player, really. He's not an
Yeah,
85
yeah,
million pound player.
he's not an 80 or 90 million pound player. He's definitely a 50 million pound player, and I think the media are gonna pounce on that. That we ended up signing him for about 85 million euros, and right now he's not particularly playing great. He's missing chances that he should completely put to bed, especially the sitters that he's missed in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
So I think he needs to up his game. Um, I think one of the good things that has happened since the Premier League, since the World Cup has ended, is Bruno Fernandes. I think before the World Cup and after the World Cup, you could see that Bruno Fernandes looks much more comfortable playing as a 10 in that Ten Hag system. I think his game has actually, uh, been much better. I don't think that he's still near his best. I think the vintage Bruno Fernandes that we used to see when he just came in under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think we are still yet to see Bruno reach that level, but we are seeing really positive signs from Bruno. Like he's been getting regular assists for us, even though he hasn't played particularly great. Like we used to see earlier that Bruno hasn't had a particularly good game, but he's still got one or two assists. I think that is what we are seeing right now, and that's a big positive for us because Bruno Fernandes is a key player. I think once Bruno is able to hit that level as a number 10, which we used to see before the disaster season happened, I think once he hits that, I think that's when our front three will actually, completely come alive because the chances that he brings, the vision that he has, and the passes and the quality that he brings to the table, I think he can actually be really good, and it would benefit Anthony Martial a lot, Marcus Rashford, and whether it's Garnacho or Jadon Sancho or Anthony, whoever is going to be playing off that right hand side, I think Bruno will be able to help them out a lot as well. And I think it's going to be a whirlwind the next couple of weeks because we've got
Yeah.
Manchester Derby, we've got Arsenal coming up pretty soon as well. Barcelona. The Barcelona game is actually not that far away as well. That is going to be a big game in the Europa League for us. So, and except that the squad is actually shaping up pretty much, you could say that there's a genuine competition for places because I think Jadon Sancho is going to be back in the mix pretty soon now because he's back.
Hopefully.
So
Yeah.
now we've got Jadon Sancho, Anthony Ilanga, Anthony, and Marcus Rashford, and all of them, for that winger positions. And three of them, I would say, actually could make the cut for it. Rashford, Anthony, Garnacho, and then you've got Sancho coming in. So it's going to be I think it's going to be tough for Sancho to actually come in from that left wing position, considering the way Marcus Rashford has been performing for us. So I think what we need to see right now is Jadon Sancho. Because if he is not able to perform now, I think like you mentioned, Harry Maguire, you never know. Jadon Sancho could be offloaded in the summer as well.
Yeah. People can drop like flies under it tonight,
Exactly.
definitely. And that's why it's important for everyone to be on song. You mentioned Bruno Fernandes there. He can be very hot and cold, but when he's on it, everybody else is on it. He's like, I always refer to people in that 10 role as the nucleus. You see what Odegaard does for Arsenal.
Yeah.
Very important for the players around him. When you take him out of that squad, they lack that link up then. He's very important for it. And I hope he steps up his game once again. But it was a great comment there that I wanted to touch on from Ian McKenna, who's a Newcastle fan.
Yeah.
He says a few injuries and we're fucked. And I think that's a reoccurring theme for anyone in the top four at the minute. I think obviously Arsenal have kind of carried on their run. I thought with Jesus being out of the team, there might have been a little bit of a drop off with Nketiah coming in. They're still winning games, they're still doing well. That could change obviously when they play us. Who knows? But like us, if we have a Rashford go out or a Casemiro, big players for us at the minute.
I think if Casemiro goes out, the defensive wall completely, it completely goes away. Because I think if Rashford goes out, it will definitely be a very, very big blow. But we still got someone like Garnacho to come in, who has been, he looks really, really, whenever he's on the pitch, he looks to bring about a spark from whichever angle he's playing. But I think with Casemiro, the moment he goes, we completely lose that midfield battle and that midfield dominance because we've either got Scott McTominay or either Fred coming in that position. And what Casemiro does, I don't think even both McTominay and Fred combined can bring that. I think he's able to bring composure on the ball, and I think his physical presence and his eye for tackling as well. I think it is by far one of the best. And I've been seeing a lot of comments where people have been saying that Rodri is better, Fabinho is actually better than Casemiro, but
Nah,
I think
nah.
you can't really actually compare him now to
It's
those.
not even biased.
Yeah,
It's literally not even biased.
exactly.
Like, he is on form right now. He is the best DM in the world, or one of two. I don't know. Everyone has their own preference, don't they? You talk about a couple of the ones you mentioned there. I think Fabinho fell off slightly, in my personal opinion. I think Rodri's still thereabouts. Joshua Kimmich, fantastic DM, and numerous around Europe. But Casemiro, as he's called on this channel right now, is doing the business, and we need him to stay fit. That's why I'm saying, if we can keep these players fit, we will get top 4. If we have an injury, we're curtains, and that's why it's important bringing Weghorst in as well, because Martial is very fragile. He's
had 3 big injuries this season already.
Yeah,
3 big injuries.
It's like a box of China plates that you're walking up the stairs with. You need to be very gentle with him, because he can just pull a hamstring, do a knee, ankle, and gone like that. And we know Rashford as well has had his previous injury issues. So far, he's been all right. Touch wood. I don't want to curse it, but he's been okay so far. So it's important to keep these fit. I think anyone in that top 4 fighting for it right now, even outside of it, when they get injuries. You see what happened with Spurs? Kulevsky got injured, Richarlison got injured. He dropped off slightly. You can't rely. We're playing 3 games every single week.
The volume of games that we've got at the moment, and we don't have the depth to, actually match it if one of our players goes injured. If you could, because we've seen that, we genuinely need 2 midfielders in that Manchester United right now.
De Jong.
A 6 and an 8. De Jong is the 8. Who would you go in for a backup 6?
A backup 6. Oh, very interesting.
I would have loved Jimmy Garner to play that role, but horribly we ended up giving him away for 15 million to Everton. Just 15 million.
Well, likewise, if we're going to trust Ten Hag's coaching and Ten Hag's eye for talent, maybe he just didn't see what he wanted to see in James Garner. I don't know. We obviously saw a lot of potential that might come to fruition at Everton, but Ten Hag sanctioned it, I believe. Maybe it could have been a financial thing that you had to sell some to buy. I don't know what it was. Maybe that's why he did it. But if you're talking like a young profile, is this like a dream signing, or is this someone who's realistic?
Someone who is realistic and could actually be a backup to Casemiro.
Right, because if it was a dream signing, I'd go get a Valverde or someone like that, but we're not going to go get a Valverde. So we're talking about a young profile.
Valverde is, I think, by far one of the most versatile midfielders in the world right now. He can play anywhere in the midfield, and he can actually play off the wings as well.
Well, what are you talking, like a proper number 6, like a Casemiro, a screener of the defense?
Someone,
to be honest,
who wouldn't give us scares whenever he comes on the pitch, like McTominay does.
Yeah, to be honest, it's hard at the minute, because like young talent in that position, they're hard to pick up on, like who do that similar role around Europe. I think of a lot of the number 8s, like Enzo Fernandez, your Frankie de Jongs, all these kind of guys. But to get that specific anchor who can do a job even close to Casemiro at a young age is very hard to find. I know we was linked with Sangare at PSV. He's not young, but he's still like, I don't know, 24, 25, I believe, something like that.
Would work out if he actually ended up coming to us.
Yeah, because you learn off Casemiro then, do you know what I mean? You don't have to come in and hit the ground running straight away. Let us know in the chat, guys, if you have any thoughts on the DM position, anyone you were bringing as a backup to Casemiro. He is 30, maybe he'll last another 3, 4, 5, 6 years, I don't know, but we are going to need that next Casemiro. So where would you go to shop for him? Do you have any players in mind? Let me know in the comments section. Amrabat, Adam just mentioned Amrabat there, who had a great tournament for Morocco. I believe he plays for, is it Fiorentina, or he plays in the Italian league, I think?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Fiorentina when, I think one of Fiorentina Venezia, I think.
Yeah. And obviously, as you know, Shreyas, I was a massive fan of Tchouaméni before he ended up going to Real Madrid. Everyone knew that on the channel. I'm raving about Tchouaméni.
I think the summer transfer window that happened this season, I think the most hurtful transfer window for you up until now, because any player that we have been linked to ended up going to either rivals or some other club, whether it was Tchouaméni, whether it was Darwin Núñez, Nkunku, everyone just ended up going somewhere else.
Yeah, and another player, we've actually got obviously a Newcastle fan in the chat, Bruno Guimaraes.
Yeah.
Fantastic midfielder. Fantastic. He's not going to like this. Ian's not going to like this comment. But I would try get him. I don't think we would get him because he's only just
Yeah,
recently moved to Newcastle, and I think for him to be tempted away from there, it'd have to be Real Madrid or a Barcelona
yeah.
or PSG, something like that to tempt him away. Because Newcastle have a very good project in a minute, and obviously new owners, good contract, good ways there, so it'd be hard to lure him away. Declan Rice, what do you think about Declan Rice?
I think Declan Rice would be a fantastic option to have because I think he would be someone who could be close to Casemiro. I think once again another player who could actually be moving away from West Ham because West Ham have actually not been that great this season. I think a lot of people expected them to be somewhere along the mid table or at least involved in the top six because they made some really good signings. They got Skamaka in, a really good young striker. They got Paqueta in. They got once again, like you mentioned, Declan Rice in there as well. Suchek. Uh, they got decent players in that system and made decent signings, but I think
Like 17th in the league, aren't they?
yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah, 17th in the
Yeah.
league, which is quite shocking considering the players that they've got at the moment. So
Mm.
once again, similar to Wolves, I would say they've got very, very good players in that system who, if they are not able to turn their season around, might be moving to better clubs. So yeah, and yeah, I think Declan Rice is once again we've been linked to him quite a lot of times. Whenever any manager has been thrown under the bus, the one of the two signings that used to be mentioned was Haaland, and the other used to be Declan Rice. So
Yeah.
uh, there's definitely a history there. You never know if it actually ends up happening. I think for me, one of the players that could do a job near to Casemiro's could be a good backup would be João Palhinha from Fulham.
That's a good shout.
Yeah,
A very good shout.
I
He's
think
obviously been voted in Player of the Month as well recently, hasn't
yeah,
he? He's too good for Fulham. I'm sorry, but he
yeah.
is too good for Fulham.
I,
He
I,
is.
I was actually shocked when he moved to Fulham as well because I thought that he could easily move to a bigger club. I think the
Him and Mitrovic are the
yeah.
reason why Fulham are where they are. Them two players for them have been really, really good.
And surprisingly, Andreas Pereira as well.
Andres Pereira, I know. Who would have thought it? 10 million's looking like a bargain to them. Adam's comment in the chat, 921 subs. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Journey to 1,000 is underway and we are so close.
Yeah.
About 50% of the new viewers who are watching right now. So if that's you, please click that subscribe button in the bottom right corner of your screen and join this amazing community. We have shows pretty much every single day. We do live watch-alongs. We do lives on TikToks, lives on Instagram. Clips, regular updates in terms of transfers. We've been talking about Weghorst today. Yeah, we love it in a minute. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So it's popping off. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's been tuning in as well. I'll dive into a few more comments and then we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
So we've had Pog back as a bit of a comment there. No, do not want that guy back. Has he even played a game for Juventus?
He hasn't played one game for Juventus this season.
Jesus Christ, man.
Has been injured. He hasn't played in the World Cup either. And for any Juventus fans who might be out there, you actually might be getting relegated back to Serie B.
I know.
So, and once again, when we were actually looking into strikers, Vlahovic is going to be available in this summer transfer window, which is going to be coming up. So a lot of clubs are going to be keeping an eye out for him. Once again, Vlahovic was a striker who was linked to a move to the Premier League for Arsenal before Jesus ended up. Yeah. So Ragnick wanted him as well. And, once again, he's a beast of a striker, has got that, physicality like Erling Haaland's. He's a very, very decent finisher. And there's other players in that Juventus system as well who I would actually, if they ended up becoming available, I would actually go in for him. One of them has to be Chiesa. Another one's Locatelli as a CDM. I think he would be an insane backup CDM to Casemiro because he can function as a central midfielder as well as a box-to-box versatile player. And yeah, I think it's just really, really satisfying to see Pogba and Di Maria both getting, completely snubbed in that Juventus lineup after what all they...
And we've gone the opposite route now. We've gone with kind of more astute bias. Like we're actually Ericsson on a free has been fantastic. Malacia for 15 million or 50 million euros, whatever it was, cheap again.
Yeah.
Casemiro we paid good money for. Sandro has been worth every single fucking penny, man. Every single man. And I love it because we was talking about him on this before we even ever got linked with Sandro Martinez. We was all talking about him. And I'm so glad it's come to fruition. I'm so glad Carragher's been shut up. I'm so happy Souness has been shut up, and they're in the mud at the minute, the absolute mud.
As I remember one of those interviews of Souness where he said Casemiro isn't a great player. He's been playing alongside great players. He's not particularly a player who's world class. He's been playing alongside world class players. That's why he's been able to achieve what he's achieved.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Casemiro has just dictated the Premier League.
Yeah, it's just about astute bias. And like Ian said there, Bruno and Botman for Newcastle have been crazy value for money.
I think Botman is an amazing player. I think
really
for Newcastle, he's going to be absolutely unreal.
Yeah, and I think that's the route that we need to go down now into. We're obviously in the January transfer window. And for a quick recap of the show, before we went off into a bit of a tangent, because obviously you guys are interacting and stuff, so we love staying on and talking. We have discussed a wage cap with Gary Neville coming out saying not a great thing with new owners coming. How's this going to work if you want to attract new players? There's a lot of logistics behind it. Do you agree with that or not? Yes or no? Let us know in the comments section. We've been talking about Weghorst. The deal's getting closer and closer with that. The latest update on that was Besiktas are expected to meet Wout Weghorst's agent today. An agreement between Burnley and Besiktas is approaching, with Burnley paying them to make the move happen. Weghorst has told Besiktas president that he wants to move to Manchester United. Is this a player that you want? And the last thing we touched on was to do with the quotes from Ten Hag about the club, the past, how we're moving in the future, and what's going to happen, basically, how we're looking to install this discipline, these wage caps, and change the club, basically, for the better. And that's what Erik Ten Hag has been doing since he's come in. So long may it continue. Long live Ten Hag. Long live Real Reds Talk. Long live Manchester United. This has been me and Shreyas on your Transfer Morning Show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button and smash a like on the video. Yeah. Have a lovely Sunday. Go get your Sunday roast dinners wherever you are in the world. Thank you. We'll see you in the next one.